Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast, where we're all about helping you cut the tie to all that holds you back. The excuses, the fears, the people, that sense of entitlement. Cut the ties so you can unleash your inner entrepreneur. Your host, Thomas Helfrich, is on a mission to make more entrepreneurs in the world and make them better at entrepreneurship.
Hey, welcome to Never Been Promoted. I'm Thomas Helfrich, your host. We are live again, and today's conversation is a good one. It's one I've been putting off for a while. I thank you. It's about procrastination. We have an expert today, Chris Abdey. He is a professional, procrastination coach, which I think it's maybe anti-procrastination. I have a tough time saying that word today. But he's going to go through kind of the types of procrastinators, why you do it, and give you 3 solid tips of kind of how to overcome it outside of just, obviously finding time with him to go work with him to go do that. This is a huge problem in entrepreneurship, in life, but in particular entrepreneurship. You just don't have the time to procrastinate. I know I do it more than I should. I've gotten better about it. I'm excited to have this conversation to go learn about it as well. Listen, if you're your first time here, thanks for coming. I'm going to be clear on our mission, which is to help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship. In particular, I love the world, and I want more of them in the world. I really want the U.S. to have more entrepreneurs, though. To be clear, I think the U.S. needs it. I think it's a great advantage competitively for us, and I want to do my part to make as many as possible. I want to make 1 million new ones this year alone. So, if you guys get any value from this, please do the whole likes, do the follows on YouTube, all those kind of fun things. It really helps the channel, and also it helps the guests too to kind of do what we're needing to do to further this mission. But without further ado, let's meet Chris Abdey. Chris, how are you? I'm trying to work my controls in the background there. Chris, how are you?
Doing well, Thomas. How you doing?
I'm good. Should I be concerned it took us 9 reschedules? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, come on. It was only 7.
It would be funny if we've been trying to schedule this for a year. He keeps putting it off to, the number one procrastinator, perfection, right? It's bad. Chris, where do you live?
I'm based in St. Catharines, Ontario right now.
In Ontario. So it's winter there now. It's August, middle of August. So the summer's over. It's full winter. You guys skipped fall. That was August 6th. And I was in Canada this summer. I went to Banff National Park to see Lake Louise and all that kind of. And anybody who likes mountains, clear air, nice people. We did run into a grizzly bear on the trail, which was frightening. But no one died that I know of. You got to go see it. Canada. I have a new respect for Canada. It is gorgeous. It was like 45 degrees too in the middle of July. And I was like, holy moly, people live here? Really? Anyway, Chris, how are you? I'm procrastinating having this conversation. I don't want to do it. It's going to hit too close to home. Why don't you take a minute, introduce yourself, like what it is you do, give us the 1-liner or 2-liner on that, and tell me about how you got to there.
Right. So my name is Chris, and I'm a procrastination coach. And sort of how I got there was all throughout my life, whatever position I've held, whatever company I've been in, I've always been a coach to helping people, lead better, more productive, schedules, and whether it be at work or for their lives as well. And so a few years ago, I decided that, I wanted to actually help people. I mean, I was already helping people, so I just didn't have the title. So I went out and I started creating these programs. And what happens is a lot of times people don't really even understand that they're procrastinating or how they're procrastinating. So I look at everything. I look at your focus, I look at your mental state, I look at your energy levels, and I just try to educate everybody. It's not just about sticking things in your calendar, because I can do that all day long and still not do it.
Yeah. I can also stick things in my calendar that are very low value, which is often a form of procrastination, is not focusing on the highest priority tasks. Because
low hanging.
Let's dive right into this too. So first of all, define what procrastination is and isn't, and then let's dive into maybe some of the different types.
Sure. Well, procrastination it's such a huge topic. But essentially what it is that you're delaying some activity or delaying some item on your to-do list or goal or a dream or a vision. And it's just just putting it off for whatever reason. We can go into different kinds of procrastination. What isn't procrastination? I mean, procrastination is not a it. Well, I mean, it's not a. I guess it's not a symptom, and it's not something to be ashamed of. I mean, we all do it for one way or another. I actually have a quiz that you can take on my website that will tell you what kind of procrastinator you are. Just for the sake of time in this podcast and to not inundate everybody with information, I'll just go over the different kinds that there are. There are basically five main.
How long does it take? I should go fill it out right now while we're on it.
It's only 8 questions. It's literally only 8 questions, and when you're done,
you start describing the different types. I'm going to try to figure out how to share that screen, and we're going to go figure out what kind of procrastinator I am.
Okay,
right here live. So you what are the different types as I sort it out in the background here?
Okay, so we've got the perfectionist. Anybody who's putting things off because they feel mainly they have unrealistic standards, they have the fear of failure, they have an overemphasis on the outcome, detail oriented to a fault, and that's their kinds of ones. So they fear judgment or criticism, or they think it's all or nothing kind of thinking, right? And then we have the dreamer. I actually fall into this category, so I'm near and dear to this one for sure because I myself fall in this category. We have high creativity and imagination. We involve ourselves in idealism. We avoid routine tasks because they're routine and repetitive, and if they don't engage us creatively, we just have no interest in doing them. We're often disorganized. We have to recognize that, and we have some difficulty carrying out plans with execution because we're more enthralled with thinking about it than actually doing it, right? So that includes, sometimes a fear of reality, escapism, a lack of structure, and an overwhelm in details. You might have a vision, but you don't necessarily know how to do that, right? And then we have the worrier, right? So the worrier is, characterized by excessive anxiety, overthinking, self-doubt. They're always worried about the consequences of doing or not doing something. So they can actually, get involved a lot in what we call a paralysis analysis or analysis paralysis, where, you have difficulty making decisions because, you're worried about the outcome, right? And then we have the crisis maker. This is an interesting one because the crisis maker actually thrives when they're under the gun. They work well under pressure. You see a lot of crisis makers in traditional corporate settings. They do things at the last minute. They could be hooked on the adrenaline. They seek thrills. The only issue with that is that a lot of the times the crisis makers have inconsistent work quality just because they're rushing things at the last minute, right? And this could be different, many different things. The most common ones are an overconfidence in one's abilities. So we tend to underestimate how long a task is going to take us because we think we're pretty good. In a lot of cases we are, but when you get involved in that, then you tend to take on tasks at work and they just pile up, and then one or two slip through the cracks, and one or two obviously suffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last, we've got the defier. I see a little bit of this in myself as well, but I mean, we all have a little bit of that, right? So in a defier, this type of procrastination is that you don't really like being told what to do. But again, who does it? Who likes being told what to do, right? So you have resistance and authority. You have a need for autonomy. And there's a lot of passive resistance there. You might have a lot of contrarian attitudes. And generally, this type of procrastinator does have more internal conflicts. Because they know that these things are important to do, but just because they're being stipulated, it has to be done by somebody else, be it your wife or the government, right? You have to do it, and we just have that resistance to it.
Yeah, I'm about to break your machine. I think I'm gonna have every one of those here. Let's do. Let's look at this here. So, can you see the screen here?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
I'm going to start my quiz on your site. So this is I took it out. It's hold on, let me show you the address. So you got it here. Procrastinationstation.ca. That's not California, that's Canada, people. And okay, here we go. How do you typically approach big projects? My grand ideas, how to begin the steps. Can I answer more than one? Oh, I didn't. Hold on. Can I go back? Shit.
No. It's intuitive.
Go on.
You're not supposed
I
to,
would.
you're not supposed to think about it too much.
I didn't even read the other ones. There you go. It's part of it. All right, hold on. No, it tells me what to do. I have a grand. All right, let's go with that one. Grand ideas. How do deadlines affect you? Get stressed, restrictive, and uninspired. I resist. I find, yeah, let's go with that. All right. What do you do when faced with a new task? I start delaying until I feel I have started perfect plan. No, I get lost in dreaming about possibilities, but struggle to act. Overthink all potential problems. No. Procrastinate until I'm forced to start by external pressure. Oof. I question being told to do. I'll probably go with that one as well. I think that's probably the most lined up. When you procrastinate, what is usually the reason? Result won't be perfect. Nope. Interested in thinking about the idea and then working on it. I will tell you, I'm one who would be fine just collecting money and not having to work. Some people say they are like that, but I can honestly say I'd like that. Anxious. Nope. This one. Okay. I think the second one's going to line up to the second thing. How do you usually handle routine tasks? Nope. Yeah. I find them boring and struggle to stay engaged. That's probably very true. I worry about, nope, put them off. Yeah. I struggle between answers 2 and 4 on almost every one of these. Is that is that set up? You can tell me the mechanics behind this afterwards. What's your typical reaction to feedback? No, I feel like it doesn't fully understand my creative vision. No, highlights everything. I appreciate it most when provide it right before a deadline. Ooh. I actually take feedback well. Like I seek it. Ooh. I probably have to go to the second one again. That's probably the best. That's a hard one. When you think about completing a task, what is your main focus? Am I passing this thing? I'm having stress now. I don't think I can fix it. I can't finish. Just kidding. All right. Picture that you'll have, but ignoring the steps, the thrill, the satisfaction. Ooh, under pressure. No, whatever number 2 is me. How do you feel about long-term projects? Oh yeah. Number 2. I'm enthusiastic, but losing. I'm a dreamer. No question. All right. I could claim my free strategy call here in a second. That makes, okay, there's no question I'm a dreamer. And I will tell you, I'm one who, when I get a good routine, I like to stick with it and I hate breaking it. So give me an example. If I don't work out every morning at 8, including Saturdays and Sundays, the Saturday or Sunday disruption can be enough to not make me want to go on a Monday. Does that make sense? Like that's how I'm wired. And so what happens is when I break a routine personally, I can't take the dreams and the ideas of what I want to become and put them in action. And so is it fair to say that would a tip be just create a routine and just go do it? Even if it's just like, hey, like we have a new service coming out. I'm struggling to I was telling you this off camera, like I'm struggling to really kind of put pen to paper to do a few things. And when I was forced in a car to have nothing else to do, I did 3 hours of amazing work on it. And then what do you do when you do that though? I don't really like routines, but man, when I see one good, all I want to do is repeat it because I love the outcome. Like I struggle with that.
Yeah. So specifically for dreamers, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, one of the biggest things you can do is, establish routines and structured routines, and just incorporate those into your daily lives. And by that, you'll be exercising you'll be exercising, for lack of a better word, your discipline muscle, right? Mm-hmm. So because dreamers need to take consistent action. So, you always be on the move. So, time blocking and where you dedicate, specific times to particular tasks can help create a good framework for you to support progress. And one of the other important things is to incorporate creativity into your execution. So when you're a dreamer, you might take a task and actually this is a very good one too. Turn your tasks into games. So
gamification works so good on me. Oh my God. Yes.
So, your wife says, "Oh, don't leave your dirty socks on the bedroom floor." Like, all right, well, we're playing, sock basketball now. We're going to do 3-pointers from across the room, tossing all the dirty laundry into the basket. See how many points we can get in how much time, that sort of thing can really help as well. Getting in a reward system is good for just about any kind of procrastination as well. That little bit of positive reinforcement. So after you're done your game, if you get 60 points, give yourself a little bit of whatever your favorite kind of candy is or salty snack or, within reason, right? so that you're just going
I'm
through.
going to allow myself to do 10 push-ups. Okay, no push-ups until I
Okay, well, I mean
you
that
see,
could be a way
get
to-
addicted to push-ups, people.
I'll have to take
I'm
you
not
later.
saying I have. I'm just saying it's good advice I'm not taking. Just anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Right. So that's for a dreamer. In more general samples too, a lot of procrastination will go into the biggest ones, especially in entrepreneurship, is feel fear of failure, or worrying about judgment. I like to call it the witch wound. I didn't coin the phrase, but I mean it's pretty accurate. You're afraid of putting yourself out there because you're afraid of criticism or what people are going to say, what they're going to do. And a lot of this is just tied to either past experience or future projections, right? So something that I really like for procrastination as well is just mindfulness. So it's just staying in the present moment, right? Because the past already happened, and we keep reading it every day, but this is not stuck in our minds for some reason. It is past results do not guarantee or project future performance. We see this everywhere, and yet for whatever reason we tend to take one bad experience in the past and we apply it to all our future experiences. And so by letting go of the past and being rooted in the present moment and focused on what we're actually doing, we can get over the procrastination. And the other part is the future. I mean, we're always worried about a future that hasn't happened yet. So what's interesting is that the human brain can't process a solution to something that doesn't exist, because the future, I mean, it doesn't exist. You can't quantify it. You can't go into it. So your brain is just on overdrive, figuring out all these things you can do when you can't take any action, and that just causes a feedback loop, and it can cause burnout. So by just staying in the moment and just focusing on exactly what you're doing and giving 100% of your effort to that, you'll find that your task lists sometimes don't seem as daunting anymore, because you're focused on the task and the journey to get to where you're going. You're not concerned about where you were, and you're not really concerned about where you're going. You just know that you're taking that step right now.
Well, that's it. So are those somewhat universal rules no matter where you are, and the things that like the 3 tips, like one, having a routine that focuses on the execution of a process towards some kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're somebody who delays because they're perfectionist, like that's a different game. But like, is that one of the universal roles? Like universal tips, I think I'd be great, because obviously you can't solution for everybody and stuff. But tip 1 is develop some routine that breaks up a larger idea into small deposits of benefit. The atomic habits kind of idea, right?
Correct. Yeah. The bigger the task, and the one rule that you have is no step is too small. So if you can take any task that you don't want to do and you break it into the smallest steps possible, it doesn't matter. You can have a task as easy as picking up dry cleaning, and you can literally break it down to step out the door, open the car, turn the car on. And as you check these off, you'll notice that you don't actually hesitate as much, because those steps are really, really, really small. And and mindfulness is also a big one. And I'm trying to think that the best third one. Gamification is good. Also, your support groups. I'm just trying to think what.
Well, for someone who's the opposite end of the spectrum, so I'm definitely okay is good enough, not even good is good enough. Let's just get it out there, get some feedback.
Gotcha.
Perfectionist, though, I call it the Schwarzschild ratio problem. So it's that's the math that determines the event horizon of a black hole, and inside of which is perfect. So if you cross that event horizon, not only are you chasing something that can't be found because it's endless forever, and you just keep slowing down the further you go into it, and no one on the outside can help you. So how does somebody who procrastinates because of we'll get into the whys, but just let's say listen, I has to be perfect before it goes out. How do you help that person? I've never seen that behavior broken.
Well, perfectionism is very difficult. I can tell you, I am a little bit of a perfectionist sometimes. And that's just normal. Everybody has that. One of the most important things to do when you consider perfectionism, though, is to just get something out there and just let it flow, because you can't do anything with no data. You can't do anything with no experience to back it up, right? So that's one of the most important things for the perfectionist. And also just, and I know this is kind of it's kind of indicative, but you embrace your past mistakes and imperfections. You go back, and it's a variation of the power of three rule, where you go back in your life and you look at three times where things didn't exactly go as planned, but you had a fairly decent outcome, right? And then you look at the past, and then you do what you call like the thought trap challenge, and you say, okay, if I don't put out this podcast today, if I don't put out this website today, what's it costing me in the long run? And do I have any evidence that suggests that if I put it out that it's going to fail miserably? And what evidence do I have to suggest that? And normally we don't have any.
Yeah. Do you think sometimes though the why behind that one's almost more important?
For sure, the why is a big one. You want to know why you're. I mean, is it the fear of criticism? Is it your name? Is it ego? Is it or does it stem from something in your past where you have an action because you've had such a horrible experience that you don't want to put yourself out there? So yes, you're right. It is very important to figure out where it comes from.
I mean, I look at sometimes where I'm not a lazy person, but I hate doing small, busy work. I like it, and I certainly hate redoing things over and over. But in sales and building a company, the wins are in the repetition of a good process. There's no other way around it. You just repeat good things, good behaviors, and you have good outcomes. It's the best thing it's going to happen if there's good market conditions or bad market conditions or whatever it is. Your best outcome is one that we repeat a process. I hate that. I wish I just fell in love with that, and that was like my calm spot.
Yeah.
So what do you jump in here because that's where I'm like, I know it because that's and when I was struggling on your quiz of between 2 and option 4, which is under pressure. The under pressure is where I always end up jumping in because it's like, okay, I know I have to do this now. I'm tired of not making enough, or I'm tired of having to do that. And where I usually get over the hump is when I'm like, you know what, if I just do this hard work for the next 2 weeks, the next 2 years could be better.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of taking a year to procrastinate, just go get your ass in gear and go do it. Is that normal to have those two things tied where you're a dreamer and then pressure, or are there combos?
There are definitely combinations. One of the things in procrastination is, and actually it's very interesting you said about the stuff you don't like to do and you have to do it, but you don't like it. And a lot of that is just perspective and mindset. So I often do like a small, we can actually do a small experiment here on the show. It takes like 30 seconds too. It's just pick something that you have to do that you don't like doing. Pick something you have to do.
That I don't like doing?
Yeah.
I hate doing website copy.
Okay. And when you think about doing website copy, and you say I have to do it, how does it make you feel?
I mean, it's like what do you call it? Claustrophobic.
Gotcha. So it's like pressure and crushing in. It's like that resistance, like you're dragging.
And I don't do it well. So it makes it even worse. I don't want to do it. I can't do it well. And it's frustrating because it's not anyone else's fault. I just know that no one else can. It's in my head. Now, AI has helped, by the way, because I can get my head stuff out and people can then take it and do it. But it's frustrating because I don't want to spend time doing that shit because it's just like, oh, I have to do it. And it's like almost over. There's too much.
Gotcha.
Part of for me, and to do this, part of that is tied to entrepreneurial ADD a bit, where you have a lot of things going on and you're spread too thin. And so you do almost nothing. Gotcha. And so like this podcast is good because I have to show up. I have to be attentive. I have to, prepare. That forces me to do stuff, but I love doing it. Right. It's fun. So when you're talking about like website copy, it's like, it makes my day when I find a partner for a business partner that can really write that stuff. Cause then I'm like, oh my God, you take off a huge thing that I just don't like to do. So for me, sometimes procrastination ties to just being too thin. I just don't really have the mental energy to do it. Because then,
right. So it's something that you have to do. So it sounds like that could do with a lot of delegation. If we had the time, I go into the Eisenhower matrix, is really popular, but if you take that now and you say, I have to write website copy, but why don't you just turn it around a little bit and say, I choose to do website copy because I know it's going to make me a little bit better at it, and I know that it's going to help my business. And if you say I choose to do it, how does that feel?
I mean, you're going to get all tricky with me. I feel much better.
Well, I mean, we don't like that intrinsic.
But that's a mindset thing. And you're 100% right. I'm choosing to do this. And it's not that anybody's telling me to do it. And I've tried delegating out. It just doesn't work. And then it ends up creating more work. And it's the example that came to mind. There's probably a million other things that I just, anyway. Part of it is capability. So a lot of stuff I procrastinate is, Taylor's Kids Are Naked. Get it out there, but your personal brand. When your personal brand's involved with like our business or this or that, I take a step back. Like, hey, is this really what I want to say? So I'm writing a book. It dawned on me very early that what's in my head and what can come out of my mouth does not transcend to a piece of paper to write it down. And so I had to go through finding the right ghostwriter that had the right style, because I really want to get this done. And, writing a book, 90% of it is procrastination, just so you know, it's part of the cycle of it. But I found the right ghostwriter, I believe, that's helped me move to tell the story and do it in a way that I could never do, but the way I wanted to do it. It's like, that's what's in my head, what this person's written. But when I try to do it, man, forget it. I don't know if that's procrastination or just realization that it's going to take forever to find. It's like decide quickly, change slowly. Maybe complete your thought of that. But I think when you talk about, I think that's where I get caught up sometimes is, where am I thinking versus procrastinating? And sometimes I just have think time that I feel like I should be working, but I feel like I am because I'm thinking through the problem instead of working through. I don't know. This is where I sometimes get caught up, is the thinking piece that's so important before you actually go do something.
And that's the characteristic of the dreamer right there, because you'd rather be thinking about it. You get caught up in the details, but then executing it is where you have the issue, right?
Executing is sometimes challenging, but usually the execution comes when I know I don't have the skill set to do it well.
Right. So in that sense, definitely a support network of delegation. Delegation is a big part. I know that there's a few stigmas out there right now that say, we have to do everything, or, we have to multitask to be, we have to be superhuman. I absolutely hate that. And it's not the way to be productive at all. I mean, if you're putting 20% of your focus on writing a book, 20% of your focus on doing website copy, 20% of your focus on your podcast, you're only going to get 20% of the results, right? So, we need to focus on one thing at a time. We can do multiple projects at any given time, but only put your focus and energy into one thing at a time. And if you don't do it well, there's no shame in delegation. There's no shame in sending it off to somebody who can do it better than you. I mean, I
love that. That's my whole business model is delegation. So, because like I said, I don't actually want to work. I just want to. People goes, what would be an ideal job for you? I'm like, it used to be like, I want to be a golfer. I'm like, but that's also kind of lonely and you're on the road, and I'm not very good. But I'd rather just talk. Have conversations. And so, it's many how you navigate to where you really want to go with that, because you can't delegate that one out. Not yet. AI might let you do it later. Is there a form of procrastination someone can't get over?
I mean, that is honestly totally up to you. If you don't, if you really are in your own head and you keep telling yourself over and over again that you can't get past it, then you won't get past it. The power of the mind is we're still learning so much, but the truth of the matter is that anything you put your mind to, you can do. So, I mean, you can literally overcome any kind of procrastination that you want. The only thing is that, sometimes you either need to push, if you're like a crisis maker, you need to push, or maybe you just need a support group, a friend or someone you trust to be an accountability partner to get you past that. But I mean, to just sort of sit back in this sort of defeatist attitude and say, no, I can't get over it. Well, no, it's because you don't want to get over it, which is a really hard thing for a lot of people to accept,
Yeah. What's in your own life, what was the kind of number one thing you had to get over?
The number one thing I had to get over in my own life in terms of, especially in terms of procrastination, most of mine stemmed, amazingly enough, around relationship type things. Like when I was younger, I didn't really like confrontation. I was a people pleaser. So I used to put off, simple things like my mom would call. I just shove the phone aside and say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm too busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'll call you later. I'll pick up the phone later. And it's because I didn't want to deal with that. I just didn't want to stick up for myself. I didn't want to, I didn't want to risk people not liking me. So I would put off those interactions where I knew that I would be confrontational or, um, contrary or potentially have them not like me anymore, right? And that stemmed from a deeper form of self-validation, right? So I had to look at that. Well, why do I need these people to like me? like, so I mean, yeah, for me that was definitely that for sure.
It's I hate talking on the phone. Like it's just I just don't enjoy it. Like especially if you have the whole. I just and I don't think that's procrastination, but you sometimes you just don't like doing things, and if you don't actually have to do them, then I say don't. Like, but if you have to do something, it's like it's different than getting something done. You can knock out in a couple hours. It's when you have to knock it out over 2 months for a couple hours every other day. Mm-hmm. That's when it's like, whew, especially when it's business related. Like I need to do this content, I need to do this, and it's like this is where I think some of your coaching comes in. I would assume you go through and say, hey, what's the top priority? It's like on top of mind every morning. You're like, I know I need to do. And for me, it might be like, hey, I really want to kind of work through this. You'd be like, okay, what are the business operations you're going to have to show up for? Great, do that. Now go find in your calendar, do you do something like 30 minutes and just go work 30 minutes on that one thing? And there's another hole, go find another 30 minutes and just go work on that one thing. Now, if you can, is it like, then do you take that thing and say, what are the things you need to get done in it and just go work on that one task? How do you take me through that? Because I'm going to go do it right after this. And this whole thing's about me getting free advice. This is what the whole podcast is about, by the way. That's what I bring on.
I mean, you're partially right there. Finding out the time blocking is very important, but it's important to know for your particular case. I mean, you're talking about these things that you have to do, and you're talking about splitting them up. The Pomodoro technique is that, and it just means like working in short spurts, followed by some sort of rest or activity that you find enjoyable. I call it the crap sandwich. So I take all the tasks that you have to do during the day, and you do the ones that you absolutely positively don't like, and you try to see if there are other tasks that you have that you could do at right before or right after that you would enjoy. And then that way you've got something that gives you a high or is an energizer. Then you got something that takes you down a little bit, but then you've got another energizer to sort of end your day. And that's why it's really important, especially when you're talking about doing these things that drain you. It's important to look at your schedule and say, okay, I'm going to be meeting with Bob at 5 p.m. on Saturday. And, I don't like Bob, he's somebody I've dealt with a while, but, I don't like him. He really leaves me feeling drained. He's such a negative person. And so you say, okay, well, why can't I meet Bob, a little earlier in the day so that I have something else so that I can get over that. So that, I cannot be a total, grouch when I'm, speaking to my family after I've talked to Bob on a Saturday, afternoon when I don't want to be talking to him in the first place,
That's a good point. And by the way, here's the trick thing though. It's not that I don't mind doing it. It's just, I hate the start. Does that make sense? Like once I'm into it, I'm really into it. And that's kind of my character. Like my idea is if I'm going to learn how to go, play golf, I'm going to go take a year off of work and go learn. Like, right, that's a bit extreme. I may have done that in my 20s, but the point is, I'm one who just kind of goes, when I'm all in on something, I'm all in on it. And when I'm not, I'm not. And where the rub comes for me is, and I'll give you an example. So for Instantly Relevant, we do business consulting, growth strategy, and specifically around LinkedIn. I'm pivoting the company over the next 18 months to where the lead kind of factor will be verifying other agencies' ability to deliver, because quite honestly, it's a big problem. And there's not a really good way to do that right now, in my opinion, out there. And so, but that puts the whole company at risk. And because if you pivot and then you get away from this brand of, hey, we help people with agency, not that we wouldn't stop doing the work. It's just that you're not leading with that story. You lose business. So you're threatening revenue while you're chasing a new revenue stream. That threatens the company for cash flow reasons. That's what puckers me up. That's why I'm like, hey, do I really like, so I don't know if that's procrastination or just have I, so maybe walk through that where maybe I'll extract that a little bit for anybody listening here. You have a need of it's a pivot in a business basically, or an extension. And you have potentially a threat if you do it right, if you do it wrong. And there's also a threat even if you did it right, that it may not work. But you have something that's kind of working now. That's the procrastination step that I've identified. Like, oh man, I'm really ready to let the tiger out of the cage on this.
Right. So, I mean, that is all mindset. That is, you are operating from a scarcity mindset. You're operating from the mindset that if it goes right, I can do everything right. And, there won't be enough money for the company, or there won't be enough float, or there won't be enough this. Or it goes wrong and you say, oh, well, now I screwed the company over. There's not going to be enough this, there's not going to be enough that. You see the commonality there. It's not enough, but it's always enough. So the first thing that you gotta think to yourself after you do all the research, after you've done all this research, and you're a smart guy, I'm sure you've done all the research. You've got the plan.
All the research? No, definitely not. Some research.
Some, okay.
GPT's done some for me, which is great.
Right.
Thank you.
So my question to you would be, do you have any evidence that, if you pivot like this, do you have any evidence at all in any of the research or past experiences anywhere that said it would be a risk? That'd be the first thing.
Well, I know so this is the thing I've landed. I know it's a problem in the industry. What happens for usually in these, we sell the first one, we sell the second one, we sell the 10th one, we learn, and then I'm full on. It's just getting to the point of launching to make sure we can close the first few. And we're close. Don't get me wrong. Like, this thing is about to just go. I am definitely working with the idea that this is a better business model. This is a better thing for the customers. It solves a better problem. It takes place it has every upside possible. As an entrepreneur, as many people know, niching is so important, but it puckers the butthole up faster than anything, because you're like, oh my gosh, am I really? So me focusing only on this and saying this is what we're going to do, then what downstream happens is all the content changes. Even this podcast moves probably to be more about marketing. Like, everything gets centered around this idea. So when I say I change this, it affects all of it. And it affects, even, like I said, this podcast and the things that we'll talk about it will have to shift to marketing to become more of a top of funnel. So the point is, there's a lot of impact once I do this that I'm like, man, I think it'll work. I think things are good, but man, it'd be a lot of untangling and unwinding if it doesn't. And so that's the part that makes me just, let's keep working through this. So, anyway.
Well, that's just what makes life interesting, though. I mean, would you want everything to go perfect all the time? You get bored.
Hell yeah. I want to know no pain, no challenge. That'd be great.
Exactly. So, you've got these plans and they're laid out, but what could go right? What could go right?
This
could go wrong. What could go right?
Exactly. So this is the go right from a financial standpoint, right? There's 86,000 agencies in the United States. We want to work with maybe the top 5%. Like, that's who I think we want to qualify as a worthy agency. That's about 2,300 agencies. And we're targeting around $1,000 a year. That is not a greedy company. It's a great lifestyle business that might gross in a couple $1 million a year. Maybe we do half of that. Maybe it's like $1 million. The point is, it's not a huge company, but it would be a great lifestyle business that would be top of funnel to other things. That's a likely scenario. And for me, it's like, okay, let me understand what the first few steps are to do that. And I'm working through it. I'm overplaying the procrastination piece. I actually do work through it. To me, it just doesn't go fast enough. And that's part of my personality. I don't have enough hours in a week to do this. So, but I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs who do that and do nothing. They think through things and they don't work through it. And the other pieces, I think you'd agree, right, is the mindset of, is the greater threat to do nothing.
Yeah. So that definitely is part of it too. I mean, you have to think not only, what could you lose based on, what could you lose by not doing it? Like, what are you losing by not doing it? I mean, it's better to do it and regret doing it than to do it or to not do it and regret not doing it. Because if you regret it and you did it, at least you did it. You know, you learned, you got something valuable from it. If you regret it and you didn't do it, then you're just sitting there regretting you didn't do it. Now you can't do it. Your moment's passed, and then you shrivel up. And well, that's an exaggeration, but
It's the Eminem song right there.
yeah, it's like a snake that eats its own tail, right? It eats at you, and regret. Trust me, you don't want to deal with regret. You'd rather deal with the experiences that you have and your learning and your journey,
right,
rather than regret, because regret is a long process.
It is, and you don't be lying in the grave thing. I wish I could have, been. And maybe as a closing idea, just kind of, if time here, I'll say, if you're thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, and you're just thinking, you're like, whatever that next step is for you, is a side hustle. Maybe it's, hey, you just got laid off, and now you're at the option of, do I find a job? Do I find, do I start my own business? Do I do both? The answer is yes to all that. But just take I'm one person who says, like, if you're in the position where you need to go find a new job because you're unhappy, I would assume you're going to be unhappy in the next place too. I'm going to throw that out there. So is there something that would make you happier? Well, you know what? Start it. You will not regret starting it. You won't. And that was my idea when I was like, I'm not going to really look for a job anymore. I'm going to just be all in on this. The worst thing will happen is I'll have to go find a job 5 years from now, but I'll have 5 years of running a company experience. And so there'll be some job that makes sense for. At this point, I'm pretty sure I'm unemployable, but after that, we're pretty good. Let's end with this, right? So who do you work with best? Who do you want to contact you through your website?
Oh, well, I'm open to everybody and everyone, but I really try to focus on those that they feel stuck. Maybe they're trying to start a business, or maybe they're stuck in their own head and they want to get out of the rat race. I went through this. I chased the almighty dollar. I burned myself out. I imploded my life pretty well, actually, when I think about it. I really thrive when I help others not fall into that same pitfall I did, because you wind up working for somebody else. You wind up doing something that you're unhappy with. And in the end, what you're working for, you pretty much, well, I'm going to say like 92% of the time, you wind up actually losing what you were working for anyway. So in the long run, it's not worth it. And I really thrive when I can help somebody build something that they've had in the back burner for, who knows? Some of them had plans on back burner for 4 years or more. And just being able to help them get out of that and get building something, and then looking at that and say, hey, I knew the guy that built that. That to me is a reward in of itself.
That's awesome. And I think, like, listen, if you're struggling to get going on something, and I'd say more, just not one thing, if it just seems to be a pattern, I will leave you with this. It will definitely spill over to everything. So the mindset of getting yelled at for not doing the dishes or forgetting to go put the socks away, when you're in the mindset of, hey, I need to kind of execute that so I can get a better outcome, which is maybe argue less or avoid a pain, it does spill over. And sometimes you need help. Like you might be, kind of low, you might be and these things all factor into procrastination, just not feeling motivated. And go check some testosterone. Maybe you could go check your blood on something. Maybe something's going on. These things are all related. And if you don't think they are, you're wrong. I will flat out tell you were wrong. They are completely related, because I was definitely much more of a procrastinator a year ago for, stop drinking, stop, when I tell people, like, when you drink to take off the edge, you lose your edge. And I think you can do that with lots of little things in your life, not beyond drinking or whatever else, but these are just major things to hit. Just go have a conversation with Chris. I would say that it'd be a good idea to meet with you on that, because I've met with you offline. I like your style. It's very chill. It's very listening oriented, and you're easy to work with. So I appreciate you coming on today, Chris.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you having me on here, Thomas.
Of course. I'm going to put you in the periwinkle room. I ate all the snacks and the rest are virtual. So enjoy being in there. I'll be right back. Thank you. Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Never Been Promoted podcast YouTube channel. Before we say goodbye, I just want to thank you for being part of the journey here. And we want to really help you cut that time, right? Procrastination is one of those things that will hold you back and will continue to hold you back. It is a behavior that can be broken. It is one that will probably have better impact in your life than way beyond just entrepreneurship. So take it with some seriousness, do something about it. I know I actively work through it, and it's always a struggle as well. But you got to get out there. That's one of the things you got to do to kind of unleash your entrepreneur. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, this is Thomas Helfrich. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Never Been Promoted podcast. If you liked today's show, subscribe at youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Until next time, get out there and go unleash your inner entrepreneur.
Thanks again to InstantlyRelevant.com for producing the show, all the social media, all the content, posts, articles, everything. Could not do it without you. InstantlyRelevant.com. Check it out. They're awesome. Once again, InstantlyRelevant.com.